Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio, where we expose what's broken in the healthcare system, connect you to real health solutions, and inspire you to take back control of your life. We want to help you feel empowered, informed, and free to live naturally without fear, confusion, or dependency. Download our latest book on real solutions for health at naturallyinspiredradio.com. Naturally Inspired Radio is a nationally syndicated show broadcast on over 100 radio stations, online platforms, video channels, and podcast feeds. Follow us on your favorite platform today, hit that like button, leave a comment, and engage in our special live stream chats, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com to learn more, register for our weekly giveaway, and explore past episodes. You can also connect directly with Tammy, follow her on all major social media platforms, and discover more about our featured guests and trusted radio partners. Are you looking for better health? Work with Tammy today and take the first step toward a healthier, more empowered lifestyle. Schedule your complimentary 30-minute lifestyle assessment to explore personalized guidance on nutrition, movement, toxin-free living, and natural beauty without pharma. Get started now and discover Tammy's preferred health products at naturallyinspiredstore.com or text Tammy directly 720-303-8868. Love the show and want to support the movement? Head over to naturallyinspiredradio.com and click on the support tab. There you'll find all the ways you can get involved. Join our Naturally Inspired community, become a preferred customer, attend one of our amazing live events, get your backstage pass for exclusive access, and connect to all things naturally inspired. Thank you for tuning in today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio, save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
The information and other content provided on this radio show or in any linked materials is provided for informational purposes only, not intended and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio. I am so glad you're joining me today, and I'm so happy because the sun is out today and the rain has stopped. Thank you, Lord, the rain has stopped. That was a lot of rain here in northern Colorado. Last night we were doing our weekly wellness workshop, and all I could hear was my cows crying outside because they were so miserable. Because it was very, very wet and a whole lot of rain. Like, I can't even explain it. We never have puddles in our pasture, and we had a whole bunch of puddles, and oh my gosh. So anyway, the sun is out today and it is making me super happy. What is not making me happy is the craziness that's going on online. The Tylenol meltdown. I think we're going to have to start calling it the Tylenol meltdown. Oh my Lord, are you seeing this stuff? I don't even know what to believe. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to know. Right before I came on the show, I saw somebody who on TikTok was reporting that, oh my gosh, this lady was pregnant, and just to spite Trump, she took a whole bunch of Tylenol and now she's in the hospital. And I don't, like, it doesn't help. If maybe it's true, I don't know. But if you're like fabricating those stories about, I hate even calling it the left, the right, because I hate the whole left-right paradigm thing. But if you're fabricating those stories in an effort to kind of like make the crazy even crazier, you don't have to. You totally don't have to, because the truth is crazy enough. You know what I'm saying? It is crazy enough. For today's daily topic, I'm going to be talking about that crazy. I'm going to be talking about the mind virus that seems to have captured people's consciousness to lead them to things like taking a whole bunch of Tylenol just to like really stick it to the Bobby Kennedy and stuff. Like, it's wild, right? Can we agree that it's freaking wild? It's crazy. So we're going to talk about that. And I've got some examples that I think you're going to enjoy seeing. Also in news today, Headstart. So Headstart, if you're not familiar with Headstart, if you don't have kids or what have you, Headstart is like a program, a government program for preschool. So, it's a place for kids to go before they go to school, and it's funded by the government. They're changing their nutrition, changing their whole nutrition education stuff. So that's super exciting, because we know we're going to get a new food pyramid and all that stuff. And that's really great. But, and a lot of people say, well, I don't eat off the food pyramid anyway, so it's really not going to make an impact. But our health is cultural, and the systems that we function in support those belief systems. So like the old food pyramid, whether you think it does or not, like it's systemic. So that food supported by the food pyramid shows up at things like Headstart. It shows up at things like schools. It shows up in hospitals. For goodness sakes, like even when you go to like a ball game or something, it's not like they have meat on a stick available for you, right? It's always this high carbohydrate type of stuff. So it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a slow progression, but baby steps. And this is definitely a baby step. Also, I wanted to share with you just a clip of Brian Hooker, PhD. He is I think he's like a medical consultant for Children's Health Defense. He's going to explain to us why it isn't such a great win to separate the vaccines, because we've heard from Trump and the autism review that separating the vaccines is the way to go. It's a step, but we're still leaving ourselves open to injury. So he explains it really good. And then we're going to talk a little insulin resistance. Yes, everybody, a little insulin resistance, because as I'm meeting with you more and more, I'm realizing that this is truly an epidemic, this insulin resistance. So we're going to hit it again. And I'm going to explain exactly what goes on with insulin resistance. And then, of course, we're going to have our naturally inspired moment and so much more today. I'm so glad you're here. So let's get started. First of all, let's talk about the mind virus, shall we? Oh, my Lord. It's like a complete meltdown. I don't even know what to say. Let's go to our first image here. Tylenol. We actually don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant. This is from 2017, you guys. 2017. This is exactly what happened with COVID. Nobody went to the product website to actually look at the sourced data for COVID vaccines. What we did rely on was assumed knowledge. We relied on TV. We relied on talking heads. We relied on pharmaceutical ads to tell us exactly what to take, what to do. Meanwhile, if you had gone to the product website, you would have been able to locate the sourced information about COVID-19 vaccines. Same thing is true. A lot of the times when you go straight to the drug website, you can locate the sourced information. This is so sad to me because this is an actual tweet from Tylenol telling you, actually, we don't recommend these products to pregnant women. And this is back in 2017. Fast forward to today. Oh my gosh. Jason, pull up that screenshot of our Democratic Party here in Colorado. Let's just take a look at this one. This is a political group, right? The party, Colorado Dems posted this on their X account today. Following this, and I mean, it's like an explosion of Tylenol mania, I think. People have Tylenol mania. They are now taking Tylenol just to spite Trump, just to spite Bobby Kennedy, I don't know what goes on in people's brains when this left-right paradigm captures them. I call it the mind virus. And I think it's for good reason, because who in their right mind, if somebody just happened to mention to you, say you're standing at a bus stop and somebody says to you, you know what I read today? I read that Tylenol causes issues, right? It causes issues and they've even maybe linked it to some things and, it's kind of dangerous. You probably shouldn't take Tylenol when you're pregnant. You would walk away from that experience and you would question it. I wonder if what that lady was telling me, maybe I look it up. Maybe I start doing some research on this before I do that. You wouldn't I don't think there's anybody that would just disregard it and not even have a second thought about it. I think almost everybody would at least inquiry. That's why I say it's a mind virus. Because the common sense piece of the brain has disappeared in this mania. There is no longer the ability to reason. It's very difficult to reason with people who have lost that ability. It's a mind virus. It is they have been captured by the portal being your phone. And their thinking patterns now come directly from the algorithm. It's almost like they just, can't tear themselves away from the algorithm. Absolutely fascinating times, but I'm going to dive deeper into this when we come back and tell you how even celebrities are weaponized to shape culture and they feed that algorithm. Stay tuned, everybody. This is Naturally Inspired Radio. I'm so glad you're here. We'll be right back.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen. Did you know that medicinal mushrooms are excellent for pets? Take our preferred pet health products for joint health, skin health, antioxidant protection, sow health, anti-aging benefits, gut health, liver support, cholesterol regulation, blood pressure support, brain health, anxiety relief, respiratory health, endurance and strength, anti-fatigue, and much more. Available in easy-to-take treats, great tasting gravy, and our pet food blends.
Since adding mushroom dog food to my dog's diet, I've noticed a huge improvement in his energy and coat health. He's like a puppy again, even at 10 years old.
After starting my care on mushroom super sauce, her immune health and digestion have noticeably improved. She's more playful, and her fur has never looked shinier.
Learn how to get free shipping and how to join our monthly mushroom call. Text Tammy with questions or to order at 720-303-8868. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com/mushroom. That's naturallyinspiredradio.com/mushroom.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio, save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
So glad you are back. You want to stay tuned for the second hour today because Mark Squibb is going to be joining us from liveO2.com. He's going to be talking about some interesting topics. I think maybe even something very relevant to what's going on today. If you're interested in brain health, you definitely want to stay tuned. Mark will be joining us at 4:30 from liveO2. Okay, I remember when I first discovered this and the fact that the globalists, whatever you want to call them, they use Hollywood people to shape culture, to drive decision-making, to influence. I mean, movies, TV, that was the original influencers platform. And we should not forget that. I found this incredibly interesting, that Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck have a daughter. This poor girl. I actually find this very, very sad. She was pushed onto the world stage to testify at the UN hearings recently. And, let's just take a listen to that, shall we? This is Violet
For adults,
Affleck.
the relentless beat of back to normal has become ignoring, downplaying, and concealing both the prevalence of airborne transmission and the threat of long COVID manifested in a series of choices. Young people lacked real choice in the matter and information about what was being chosen for us. Here's what we know about SARS-CoV-2. It is airborne, floating and lingering in the air. One infection can result in disabling damage to almost every cell in the body, from the brain and heart to the nerves and blood vessels. Every subsequent infection increases the risk of long COVID and places people who already have it in greater danger. Here's what we don't know, is what it does to reinfect children over and over and over again with no endpoint in sight from the day they are born. We are about to find out. As Dr. Akiko Iwasaki says, at this point, the whole population is the control group. And after only 5 years, long COVID has surpassed asthma as the most common chronic illness in children. 5 years. I am terrified for the children who do not or soon will not know a world without debilitating pain and exhaustion, who cannot trust their bodies to play, explore, and imagine, and who will not know the potential of their own minds unfettered by the cognitive damage from a COVID-19 infection. And I am furious on their behalf. It is neglect of the highest order to look children in the eyes and say, we knew how to protect you, and we didn't do it. We have...
Me too, Violet. Me too. So yesterday I talked a lot about autism and how we have to be really careful about the spectrum of autism. Okay. So we talked about, profound autism. I believe that to be like a biological injury created by injection. And then we kind of broke down a whole bunch of other reasons why, and hear me out. I know, this is controversial, about why people may display traits similar to autism. And that we're gonna have to face a really a challenging conversation about autism. What is autism? How are we going to definitively define it? Because what I see right now is we have this massive spectrum. And with a massive spectrum, this is kind of how the medical model works, is the broader the symptomology, the more people they can catch in the net with it, if you will. And it also supports this variable that supports this type of medical model of it's idiopathic or it's genetic. We don't know why it happens. And the truth is that we do know a lot about why it happens. And if we don't know why it's happening, then we should be in constant pursuit of trying to find out why this is happening. Because the rate of autism is climbing all the time. So we have to be looking at that. And in order to get to real answers, we have to be looking at, is this autism or is this something like technology-induced brain dysfunction, which is a term that I have coined because I have seen it over and over again. We have seen kids who are addicted to their technology to the point where they cannot have a conversation with a human being in person because they can't make eye contact because it's so foreign to them. This term started rising called iPad kids. These are kids that are much more comfortable interacting with an iPad than they are with a human being. Harvard has studies on this, on how this is actually changing the way our brains fire and changing behavior in people. And it just so happens that a lot of these, signals that they use to diagnose autism overlap with extreme technology use. They also overlap with trauma. So if someone has a significant trauma in their life, this can cause similar responses and behaviors that overlap with things that we're using right now to diagnose autism. I bring this up because on full display here, this poor young woman who happens to be the child of Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck. I mean, there's a lot of things going on here, right? There's a lot to unpack. She's got this mask on. Still, it's 2025, right? I mean, we have debunked the mask over and over again. And so this is of concern because it's almost like a phobia has developed within this child. The speed of her speech, okay? I would say it mirrors the speed of which information is coming at her on places like TikTok or Instagram or social media. So, how do our kids end up like this? Well, I think there's a lot of things going on here. But one of the things I want to bring to your attention is that for a very long time, especially after World War II, the CIA actively worked with Hollywood to push narratives through culture. And that was a whole program. And nobody denies it. You can look it up. It's not conspiracy theory. Like it's just what they did. And so, we're seeing it again here, or still, with some of these old actors. And Violet happens to be the child of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner. And there's a lot of Hollywood people that seem to be handled by the same agency. And that agency is called the CAA. It's probably a coincidence, right? I mean, it's probably a coincidence, but I stumbled across the CAA during COVID because I started to notice that all of the actors and all of the celebrities that were, holding water for Big Pharma, promoting the injection, promoting, shaming people. If you don't come to if you don't get the shot, don't come to my house. Those types of things. I started plugging their names into the same agency just to see, if they were part of the same agency, and they were. And then I did the opposite. I thought, well, maybe that's just coincidence. So I'm going to start plugging in some like COVID dissenters that I know of and that are, famous, and see if they're in this database, in this, I should say, what is it? It's probably a call list. A client list from this particular agency for famous people. And I couldn't find a single COVID dissenter that was in this agency. But so many of the really outspoken Hollywood types, they were in this agency. So, I just kind of I'm not like, I'm just saying, like, I've had these experiences in life where I'm just like, wow, that's really odd. And I remember I think we were in Washington. I took my kids when we first started homeschooling to Washington, and we started doing all the tours and everything around there. And I happened to notice in a lot of the instructional videos, I recognized the voice. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I recognize that voice. Who is it? Well, it was Jennifer Garner. Jennifer Garner telling you about, how the CIA started. All kinds. They used her in a lot of the training videos, and so I thought, well, that's really interesting. It's really interesting. Did you see Jimmy Kimmel's back on the air? It's interesting because that lines up with exactly what I was telling you. He's not back on ABC. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. This is Naturally Inspired Radio.
Are achy joints holding you back? Are you tired of stiffness slowing you down? It's time to restore with Joint Restore Gummies from Prosper CBD. These delicious strawberry-flavored gummies aren't just tasty. They're designed to soothe joint discomfort, promote flexibility, and help you move freely again. No more messy creams or bitter pills. Just one gummy a day to get you back to doing what you love. Best of all, no prescription needed.
My husband was headed towards knee surgery, and I was having hip pain. A friend recommended these. We tried them, and they worked great. We noticed a difference right away.
Right now, Prosper Wellness is offering a special deal, so don't wait. Go to jointrestore1.com jointrestore.com. That's jointrestore1.com. Grab your Joint Restore gummies today. Be sure to use the promo code TAMMY, TAMMY, for 20% off your order.
Did you know 80% of beef consumed in the U.S. comes from 4 major corporations, much of it being imported or processed with additives? Want real beef from a real farm? Pumpkin Creek Ranch does things the right way. Local, grass-fed, dry-aged beef with no additives, no shortcuts, just honest quality.
Pumpkin Creek Ranch beef is the real deal. I love knowing exactly where my meat comes from. No additives, no nonsense, just honest quality beef.
Best beef I've ever had. You can taste the difference. Rich, tender, and packed with real flavor. Plus, supporting a local ranch makes it even better.
From pasture to plate, they raise their cattle with care, so you can get rich, natural flavor that only real ranching can provide. Stock your freezer with premium beef you can trust. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com or call 970-658-0176.
Did you know that detoxing daily can help remove up to 70% of the toxins in your body? Let me share 3 real stories about how Greska's C60 has helped people feel their best every day. John from Denver, Colorado says,
I've always struggled with seasonal allergies, but since I started taking Greska C60 every day, my symptoms have significantly improved. I don't feel congested or tired all the time. It's been an amazing daily detox for my body, and I feel so much more energized.
Emily from Portland, Oregon says,
As an athlete, I was looking for a way to keep my body clean and detoxed. Greska C60 has been a great addition to my routine. I feel less bloated and I feel more clear-headed. Plus, it's helped me with occasional muscle stiffness and aches after intense workouts.
Visit c60.com or call 720-600-6040 today to start your own journey. Use promo code TAMMY at checkout for a special discount.
Welcome back. If you have yet to book your free 30-minute assessment with me, you can book one today. We have a nice little chat. I'm actually really enjoying the assessments because people are getting results, and then we're just building these wonderful relationships with one another and helping people, get the results that they're looking for, that they've been so frustrated with. Especially seems like I'm helping a lot of women right now get back on track with their metabolism, right? Their metabolic health has been devastated by one thing or another. We're going to get into that actually today with insulin resistance again. And I'm just helping them get back on track. And it's not that complicated. It really is just kind of selecting the path and getting going on it. So if you find yourself frustrated, like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do anymore. If you're at that point, hey, book the 30-minute free assessment. Let's see where it goes. Go to naturallyinspiredstore.com right now. Get on my calendar, and we'll just sit together, and I'll listen, which is something, the allopathic model doesn't really do. But I do. I do listen, and I can connect you to real solutions for health. Of course, I don't give medical advice, I just help people discover medical information. So book yours today at naturallyinspiredstore.com. So yeah, Jimmy Kimmel's back. If you remember, this is what I said had likely gone on. So these guys have contracts, right? Obviously, and Kimmel's ratings. Listen, all late night ratings. No dig on Kimmel, really. All late night shows have been in the tank. Like, they've really tanked, and it's obvious as to why. Because we have these massive podcast platforms now. Everybody's streaming stuff. Nobody sits down to watch TV at night hardly anymore, like cable TV. Everybody's streaming their favorite series. And if they want information, if they want news, they're going to their favorite podcaster. It's just a different time. And so, and also, Jimmy Kimmel sucks in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. I don't want him to taken off the air. I would like the marketplace to decide what happens to Jimmy Kimmel. And see, a lot of these people, they're under contract. And they write little clauses in their contract to kind of protect themselves, And this is pure speculation. I have no inside information to Kimmel's contracts or anything like that. But when I saw that, I thought, well, this is interesting because they're kind of using this low ratings, because we know it was released, he gets like 129,000 views a night, which, is way more than me. I can't say anything, but it's not more than Joe Rogan. And it's not more than some of these other podcasters, right? So they kind of like used that, I think, as an excuse to get rid of him. Possibly because he might have some kind of protection in his contract about his ratings. So if they could use this other excuse kind of, right, which is like, oh, that was so terrible, because I listened to what he said about Charlie Kirk or whatever, and, it was bad taste or whatever, but certainly people have said way worse things and gotten and not gotten censored, right? So I don't really think it's that. I think this was used as a way to get out of the contract. And here now we're hearing that, and what, this is just like everything's strategy, especially when it comes to PR. Everything is strategy, right? So when I'm keeping strategy in mind, I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe ABC wants to dump their late night show, and this would be a great way to do it, saying, oh, we're cutting ties with you because, this is so offensive. And then they can blame it on the FCC. Right? The FCC said that this was so offensive or what have you. Great. Then Jimmy Kimmel and all his, his grouping, his followers, can then express outrage and demonize Trump for that happening. And that's what I think it worked out to be. So we can demonize this. And now he's back. But from what I understand, he won't be back with ABC. So that just shows you it wasn't the issue for ABC. It wasn't the issue for ABC at all. The low ratings were the issue for ABC. Because it's obvious, these corporations, they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. They have to provide they have to try and show that they are, holding, they are making decisions based on the fact that they could make the most possible profit from it. That's their fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. So if he had great ratings and everybody loved him, they would have fought to bring him back on the platform. But they're not. And from what I understand, ABC has their own set of issues, right? They have their own problems in terms of, money, and I read somewhere that they may even be filing bankruptcy. Like, they've got issues. So getting this guy off their payroll isn't the worst possible thing. And maybe even being able to clear that slot for something else. I'm just saying. So it's so interesting to me how these PR firms, they launch a strategy, and it's always kind of like a way to make it a social issue, to fire people up, to, control the narrative around why something happens. So consider that, when some of these events take place, because here's been the recipe for where we are today, right? Where we are today, which is extremely divided still. Captured news media, captured movies and TV, captured agencies like the FDA, the CDC, and then this mind control algorithm that has captured people's consciousness, leading them to, demand their Tylenol. Like, just think about that, okay? Just think about that. I'm here producing content all the time, but like, I'm not sponsored by Pfizer. I'm not like, I just want you to get healthy. I'm promoting diet. I'm promoting exercise. I'm promoting freeing your mind. Imagine being on this team You think you're on a team, and it leads back to a corporation all the time. Like you never stop to think like, whoa, this is weird. I'm now promoting Tylenol. I'm now promoting a pharmaceutical product. You see what I'm saying here? Like it doesn't make sense in your mind, but nonetheless, it goes on. And these people in Hollywood continually promote it and work for this agenda. So Jimmy Kimmel comes back, or I think we're ready for this clip. Jimmy Kimmel comes back, and who shows up on his show last night? Robert De Niro. Check this out. Oh, I think we have a clip of him.
Well, it sounds like you got a call there, huh?
Hi, handsome. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. President. You got it, sir. You got it. Bye.
What did he say?
Look, I got to go. A couple of cases of Tylenol fell off a truck, and now I got to figure out how to put autism in them.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that sounds tricky. So good luck with that, sir.
Good luck with you, and I'll be watching you, Kimmel.
So Robert De Niro there is playing, he's supposed to be the king of wise guys, the FCC. He's playing the head of the FCC there, getting the dig in on Tylenol. Like these people are leading you down a very dark path. And you gotta wonder why. So here's straight from the CAA website before we go to break here in just a minute. This is Robert De Niro. He's listed here as a speaker and, of course, always an actor, right? So storytelling. You got to wonder, because the CAA list, I'm telling you, the client list is extensive and filled with people who have been heavily promoting things like, the COVID agenda, the Great Reset, the climate change. Like everybody seems to have their department, I guess. And maybe the Jennifer Garner is in the climate department or something, Because isn't it odd? Isn't that odd? And then we know, like I said, this isn't a theory. Like you can look up the fact that Hollywood actors have been used to shape culture and to inform the public. They're tying your emotions to it, right? These are your favorite actors. It all goes back to Edward Bernays and the beginning of propaganda. Stay tuned for your naturally inspired moment. We'll be right back.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturalinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturalinspiredradio.com/collagen. Did you know that medicinal mushrooms are excellent for pets? Take our preferred pet health products for joint health, skin health, antioxidant protection, cell health, anti-aging benefits, gut health, liver support, cholesterol regulation, blood pressure support, brain health, anxiety relief, respiratory health, endurance and strength, anti-fatigue, and much more. Available in easy-to-take treats, great tasting gravy, and our pet food blends.
Since adding mushroom dog food to my dog's diet, I've noticed a huge improvement in his energy and coat health. He's like a puppy again, even at 10 years old.
After starting my care on mushroom super sauce, her immune health and digestion have noticeably improved. She's more playful, and her fur has never looked shinier.
Learn how to get free shipping and how to join our monthly mushroom call. Text Tammy with questions or to order at 720-303-8868. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com/mushroom. That's naturallyinspiredradio.com/mushroom.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio, save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
I'm happy to report that it is since last Wednesday, so a week. In 1 week, I've heard from you, from amount of people that have lost 1 pound, 10 pounds, or actually 8 pounds, I think was one. We're up to like 32 pounds this week of weight loss from the Naturally Inspired community collectively. And I hate to use weight as a variable, to measure success, but it's one of those tangible things, that you can really grab onto and you can measure it so easily. So that's why I tell you that. Don't wait anymore. You don't have to feel stuck forever. Like that's what by the time people show up with a booking with me, they're exhausted. And I'm, they're like, I've tried this, I've tried that. I barely eat anything. I don't know why. I know. Because it truly is about a matter of connecting to the right lifestyle, right? Muscle's big. And then, of course, you got to know what to eat and when to eat it. And then, of course, you want to build your lifestyle full of tools that help you achieve that. So stop waiting, just do it. Go over to naturallyinspiredstore.com today, book your free 30-minute assessment with me, and join the community. You'll be so glad that you did. For today's Naturally Inspired moment, I want to talk about the power of contrast in expanding your consciousness. Earlier this week, I shared with you a really cool table of frequency when it comes to our emotions, right? So negative emotions are down here like fear, anger, anxiety, worry, doubt, all that stuff, is down here on the level of frequency when it comes to our consciousness. And of course, all the good emotions are way up here and they vibrate higher. And so the key is, trying to spend as much time as you can in higher consciousness. Because that frequency, when you emit that frequency at a higher consciousness, more positive vibration, well, of course, more good stuff happens to you. It's just kind of the law of nature, right? Like attracts like. And so it's not easy, though. It's not easy. Like I get knocked out of it all the time. Something will happen, a circumstance will happen, and I go, ugh. And then you kind of get knocked. So you've got to constantly be kind of working back to staying on a higher conscious level. And so one of the simplest ways, yet most profound ways to elevate your consciousness is just to notice contrast. Contrast is the difference between where you are and where you could be, between what feels heavy and what feels light, between struggle and gratitude. It's in those differences that we grow in our awareness. So 5 strategies to use for higher consciousness. Number 1, shift into gratitude. When you catch yourself focusing on what's wrong, pause and acknowledge what's right. I actually did this to my son today because he's received some bad news about his, 1990 truck, which he loves. But it's a vintage, and vintage vehicles, a lot of stuff goes wrong. And he found out today that he needs to do this pretty expensive repair. And he's like, oh my gosh, it's going to cost me this much money. And I said, I'm sorry that that's happening, but also recognize that most people pay that as a car payment monthly. And he doesn't have a car payment, So a little contrast, right? I'm always trying to use that contrast in certain situations. So when you catch yourself focusing on what's wrong, that gratitude, right? So, I'm grateful for not having a car payment. I mean, I've got to pay this expense, but also there's a lot of other people out there that are making this every month as their car payment. So even a small thank you, that thought of that relief moves you in an upward scale on the consciousness scale, on a higher vibration. Number 2, recognize perspective. Your challenge may feel overwhelming, but contrast reminds you that others are carrying different, sometimes even heavier burdens, many times heavier burdens. Recognizing this doesn't diminish your struggle, right? So it doesn't mean that what you're going through isn't painful, but it broadens your compassion. And compassion is a higher level of consciousness frequency. So just feeling compassion, gratitude, and compassion. Boom, boom. You're up a couple ranks on the consciousness scale right there. See struggle as a teacher. Growth isn't always exciting. It isn't always pleasant either, right? Sometimes growth is painful. But contrast highlights areas for growth. The things that frustrate you are the most often pointing you toward what you're ready to heal, you're ready to change, and you're ready to strengthen. Number 4, celebrate progress, not perfection. I think we could all use a little work on this one, right? I tend to do this. It's like, I've done this great big thing and on to the next thing. I don't pause and go, hey, that was pretty successful and good for you for getting out there and doing that, because that's tough stuff. I tell other people that, but I don't often recognize my own successes. And so I have to be mindful of that. Contrast shows how far you've come. Looking back at before in your life compared to where you are now helps you see growth you might otherwise miss. And let me tell you, that can be one day difference. Yesterday, I talked to somebody who felt hopeless, who felt like they weren't ever going to get any results with their health. They were run out of options. And all I did was send a bunch of articles, send a bunch of research papers. And I spoke to them for a few minutes, 30 minutes. And I said, here's what I've seen in the past with other people. Read the literature. Here's where I think you can go. And she took in that information, and then we had another conversation, and it was like a totally different person. Oh my gosh, I feel so excited. I can't wait to get started. Tomorrow I'm starting this. Tomorrow I'm doing that. Yeah, that's how quick it can change. So keep that in mind, right? Contrast shows how far you've come, but looking back can be looking back even just to yesterday compared to today. Number 5, anchor into intention. So every time you feel the sting of contrast, ask, what's the higher lesson here? What's the bigger takeaway? Contrast can be your compass, pointing you toward alignment with your values, with your purpose, and your higher self. I always say this, and maybe I say it like a broken record, but from my experience, I just see, some of the biggest pains that you experience in your life, you think they're going to break you. They think that it's going to be the end for you. That if you embrace them, and there's a big if there, if you embrace them and don't allow them to victimize you, they can become your biggest purpose and your biggest source of fulfillment. I see it over and over again. And sometimes we're just too caught up in our own pain, too caught up in our own, circumstances to be able to step back and see it. But when you look at the circumstances and you think, wow, how can I turn this around? How can I turn this around into something positive? This was so painful for me. Perhaps your purpose is to help other people get through that same thing. Now that you have perspective, you're on the other side of it. What can I do to improve this issue? It's the only thing I can think of with some of the horrendous things that people have to go through, whether it's addiction or, poor health or, problems with children or children with poor health. There's no way to fix it. And it doesn't take the experience away, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't take the experience away, but it raises the vibration around your experience into whole new levels that you probably could never even have imagined when you were living through them. I truly think that that's the reason, that a lot of us go through the things that we go through. It's because we're designed to grow through them, to persevere through them, come out the other side, and then use our newfound knowledge and our newfound inspiration to help other people. It's the only explanation that I can come up with. Again, it doesn't mean that your circumstances weren't bad or painful. I guess it's the old, when life gives you lemons type of theory. You're listening to Naturally Inspired Radio. I'm Tammy Cuthbert-Garcia. I am so glad you're joining me today. Stay tuned for the second hour because it's coming right up.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio. Save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
Nearly 40% of Americans struggle with a $400 emergency expense. An extra $300 a month can be the difference between stability and financial stress.
Are you feeling the pinch of rising expenses? Imagine what an extra $300, $500, or even $1,000 a month can do for you. Introducing a simple 3-step system designed to help you create a steady income without the overwhelm. Step 1, follow our easy-to-use plan. Step 2, take small, consistent actions. Step 3, stay motivated with weekly coaching designed to keep you on track and moving forward. Whether you're saving for a family vacation, paying down debt, or just looking for breathing room, this system is for you. You don't need special skills, just the desire to make change. Join a growing community of success stories today. Visit simpleincome.info or text 720-764-7448.
Welcome to Naturally Inspired Radio, where we expose what's broken in the healthcare system, connect you to real health solutions, and inspire you to take back control of your life. We want to help you feel empowered, informed, and free to live naturally without fear, confusion, or dependency. Download our latest book on real solutions for health at naturallyinspiredradio.com. Naturally Inspired Radio is a nationally syndicated show broadcast on over 100 radio stations, online platforms, video channels, and podcast feeds. Follow us on your favorite platform today, hit that like button, leave a comment, and engage in our special live stream chats, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com to learn more, register for our weekly giveaway, and explore past episodes. You can also connect directly with Tammy, follow her on all major social media platforms, and discover more about our featured guests and trusted radio partners. Are you looking for better health? Work with Tammy today and take the first step toward a healthier, more empowered lifestyle. Schedule your complimentary 30-minute lifestyle assessment to explore personalized guidance on nutrition, movement, toxin-free living, and natural beauty without pharma. Get started now and discover Tammy's preferred health products at naturallyinspiredstore.com or text Tammy directly 720-303-8868. Love the show and want to support the movement? Head over to naturallyinspiredradio.com and click on the support tab. There you'll find all the ways you can get involved. Join our Naturally Inspired community, become a preferred customer, attend one of our amazing live events, get your backstage pass for exclusive access, and connect to all things naturally inspired. Thank you for tuning in today. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio, save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
The information and other content provided on this radio show or in any linked materials is provided for informational purposes only, not intended and should not be construed as medical advice. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Welcome back to Naturally Inspired Radio. Oh my gosh, we've been talking about the craziness of Hollywood. We've been talking about the fallout of the craziness of Hollywood, like all the Tylenol chuggers, all the Tylenol poppers and chuggers. They're taking the liquid Tylenol. They're eating the pills, and I think they're even rubbing the Tylenol on their skin at this point. It's pretty insane, you guys. What the heck is happening here? I don't know, but it's nuts. It's totally nuts. I said, I think I tweeted out today, if you think them taking Tylenol is crazy, wait till they announce the new food pyramid. Because the new food pyramid is going to drive them insane as well. Because I mean, don't shoot the messenger, but like it's going to be heavy protein. It's going to be heavy animal protein. It's going to be, it's going to really be like, chicken, beef, all that stuff is going to be highly recommended in most of the servings. Sparingly, you're going to see fats. You're going to see whole fat dairy. What will they do? These people. And I really want to get away from the left-right paradigm. I hate it. I hate it because it's really, it's a mechanism used to divide us. No doubt about it. I mean, I can remember years ago discovering the wackiness between, the left-right paradigm and how it really benefits some people that are just like actually not on the left and not on the right, but above, right? People who are kind of the puppet masters here. So I hate using that. But you know who I'm talking about. These people who would rather get their information from the portal. They love seeing Robert De Niro tell them what to do. They cheer on Jimmy Kimmel, who pumps out propaganda about COVID injections. And that's their jam, and it's just fascinating to me to see, them revolt in this way. Go out and clear the shelves off of Tylenol. I bet there'll be a run on Tylenol because these people want to do that. And the truth of the matter is Tylenol has always been a problem. When there are drug warnings about it, it leads to liver toxicity when it's used too much. Now we have, we've actually had it since the 90s, but it's just barely being exposed now that this restricts glutathione in the liver, right? So it's all about your detox pathways. And a lot of this junk that we're putting in our body, it blocks up our detox pathways. And that leads to disease in the body. Anyway, I would never dream of taking your Tylenol away. I would dream of maybe, putting you in front of a book or two or a research paper or two and you being able to, take your blinders off or your filter off and absorb the information so you can get better outcomes with your health, because that's what it's really about, right? Is getting better health outcomes. It's so important. So yeah, anyway, that's where we are with the craziness. And there's a lot of other stuff going on in the news as well. Brian Hooker, who is a PhD, and I believe he sits on the board of Children's Health Defense, he had a visit with CHD TV. And this is something you shouldn't ignore because, I think it's step, right? There's going to be one step, next step. But you need this information now. Because, there's no uninjecting your children, right? You can't uninject your children. So consider this information coming from Brian Hooker, PhD, Children's Health Defense. Here it is.
Get them separately. Get them separately. First of all, you can't. So unless he's going to make them separate, I don't know what people are supposed to do.
Right.
But secondly, they are not safe. Even a single jab, they're not safe. What do you say? You're the scientific officer.
There are too many instances of individual children regressing into autism with a single vaccine and a single valent vaccine. You know, the furor around the MMR is that there are 3 live viruses in it. But if you take a single live virus vaccine, you know, if you just take measles, mumps, or rubella, that can still cause a regression. Even the single valent vaccines, when they were available, they were woefully understudied. And so, you know, we need to take a step back and make sure that we're not just, you know, that it's not just some shell game, that we're replacing bad for bad. And, you know, I hesitate to talk about these single valent vaccines because we're still talking about a technology that hasn't been properly tested, and we've never really done an accurate analysis of the risk versus the benefits.
In other words, people, separation isn't going to be the permanent answer here. Separation of the MMR, separations of these, you know, multi-vaccines, if you will. Here's my concern, though, and I find this very interesting because I told you the other day, I think I actually played the clip again with Scott Gottlieb, who is, you know, the head of Pfizer. And he went on before this announcement and said, you know, we're not going to be able to, like, we can't do this. We can't take out the adjuvants. We can't take out the mercury. We can't take out the aluminum or what have you. We're not going to be able to do it. It'll collapse the vaccine, you know, market or whatever, the vaccine plan. And that was interesting to me because those are the two things that Trump went after. See, it's negotiations here, right? So you always have to think negotiations, and you always have to think legalese, right? What can they say? What can't they say? What would put them at risk of being sued? What would put them at risk from losing the whole deal, right? Losing the whole strategy here. So if they can't use these things as adjuvants and they can't make vaccines that way, I think we ought to be looking for something else. Meaning it could be, and I've been saying this the whole time, it could be an acceleration into gene therapy from pharma. That could be their response to this lack of availability to vaccines. It could be a shift into more gene therapy. And that's, of course, a whole nother topic, gene therapy. What do we need to know about that? How does that impact us? You know, but that's where I see this going because Big Pharma's got to make money somehow. And so if they're going to take away their vaccines, then this would be a prime opportunity for them to pivot and go straight into gene therapy. So, you know, something to consider. Next up, I want to talk about insulin resistance, and I want to get going on this topic because Mark Squibb is going to be joining us with Live O2 at 4:30, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time to cover this. So many of you have come to me recently with what you think is insulin resistance. How do I fix it? What do I do about it? So let's dive into it. There was a great doctor on a recent podcast that I was listening to. I thought he had a great way of explaining it, so I wanted to share it with you today. So take a listen.
Pre-diabetic. That means he had a lot of insulin in his body and his glucose levels were good. So if you went to his family doctor, they'll say, oh, you're not a diabetic. Your hemoglobin A1C, which is a blood test that you do for diabetes, is actually okay. But actually that patient had a very high insulin blood level. Now, insulin is a very atherogenic molecule. It causes smooth muscle proliferation. Smooth muscle is in the walls of the arteries. It causes vasoconstriction. It makes your blood more clotty, and it causes inflammation. So this patient was a pre-diabetic. And this is very important. This is what caught my attention. Because when I looked at my patients that were coming in with heart attacks and hardening of the arteries, and when I tried to identify why they're doing this, none of them were diabetics. But then I did a glucose tolerance test on them. And what happened, it was just by chance, that I happened to have these tests in my office where you can measure the blood glucose. So I had about 120 of them. So I said, look, let's just do some random testing on these patients. And I found that at least half of them had no diabetes, but their glucose intolerance. That means that the sugars went up, but not enough to make them a diabetic, but it did go above the normal range. We did not have insulin testing at that time. About 10 years later, we started testing insulin in the office, and I bought a machine for this purpose in my office to measure insulin levels. And life was never the same again.
Why?
Because it's all about insulin when it comes to the metabolic derangement.
I love that. Metabolic derangement and yes, insulin resistance. If you do not address insulin resistance, it doesn't matter how many supplements you take. You're not going to start feeling better until you address it. Stay tuned. We'll dive into it. We'll be right back.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturallyinspiredradio.com/collagen. Did you know that medicinal mushrooms are excellent for pets? Take our preferred pet health products for joint health, skin health, antioxidant protection, cell health, anti-aging benefits, gut health, liver support, cholesterol regulation, blood pressure support, brain health, anxiety relief, respiratory health, endurance and strength, anti-fatigue, and much more. Available in easy-to-take treats, great-tasting gravy, and our pet food blends.
Since adding mushroom dog food to my dog's diet, I've noticed a huge improvement in his energy and coat health. He's like a puppy again, even at 10 years old.
After starting my care on mushroom super sauce, her immune health and digestion have noticeably improved. She's more playful, and her fur has never looked shinier.
Learn how to get free shipping and how to join our monthly mushroom call. Text Tammy with questions or to order at 720-303-8868. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com/mushroom. That's naturallyinspiredradio.com/mushroom.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio, save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
One of the ways you can control insulin resistance is to eat high protein. Of course, I love beef from Pumpkin Creek Ranch, pumpkincreekranchco.com. Use promo code Tammy when you get there for a nice little savings. I think Dean will be coming on soon. That's Dean Lerwick from Pumpkin Creek Ranch. They're dedicated to farming practices, best practices, regenerative farming. And let me tell you, there's no better beef, and they ship all over the country. So pumpkincreekranchco.com and use promo code Tammy to get some extra savings. let's dive it back into insulin resistance because, everybody needs to understand this. Because after 30, things start to change and our body, doesn't deal with the amount of sugar that we're consuming in the standard American diet. And even, what I find is when I talk to people, they've been on Weight Watchers, they've done all these different diets before, and it's still coming from the perspective of it's all about calorie restriction. And that's just not sustainable. It's not sustainable because you as a human are wired with a hunger hormone, and you're also wired with a satiety hormone. And so if you're going with calorie restriction as your main strategy for losing weight, then you are going to be fighting up current all the time. What we need to focus on is healing our metabolic function. And that's what this doctor is talking about. This is Dr. Jamandis, I believe. He's got like 35 years in the area of cardiology, and he's served over 250,000 patients. Like, this guy knows his stuff, and I totally agree with him. It's exactly the same things that I've been saying to you. But you got to keep hearing them, on repeat. Just like, Weight Watchers has commercials, we kind of have to come back at it and teach people how to eat with their body, not fighting against their body. And one of those ways is understanding insulin resistance, because the allopathic model waits until you have diabetes. They don't test you for insulin resistance. They don't understand that glucose levels are getting out of hand. Right? So consuming sugar, glucose, is actually toxic in your bloodstream. And there's something called glycation that happens. And that's when these molecules stick to your blood vessels. They pretty much stick to everything. And what happens when they're sticking like that is they slow down your natural metabolic function. So all your chemicals don't work properly, if you will, your chemicals inside your body. Your hormones, for instance, they don't work properly when you've got glucose stuck to your blood supply. So your enzymes don't work, your hormones don't work properly. It's a cascading effect, and it also makes you age prematurely when you're dealing with these high sugar levels in your blood. So nothing functions properly when you have this issue. So it has to be addressed as the first priority. Many people are taking, so many different supplements. They're reaching for this, they're reaching for that, thinking, because that's how our brains are wired, right? That we just take a pill and this will fix it. You have to fix your metabolism, and you do that through lifestyle. Now, supplementation is necessary. I'm not saying supplementation isn't necessary. It is. But we have to make the lifestyle changes to complement. They work together. Supplementation, yes, you need it, but it's working together with the fact that you are eating a high protein diet filled with good fats, right? That you're hydrating your body. Like, we really have to get away from the paradigm that it's a one-shot kind of fix. Your body there's so many things going on in your body at any given second of the day. To think that, it's a one-shot fix, it just does not work that way. But the good news is it's really not that complex, right? It's not that complicated, rather. It's not that complicated. It's about adhering to a clean diet. And clean means different things to everybody. But I mean high protein, eating the foods that your body understands what to do with, that doesn't create this excess of sugar and then causes that glycation that slows down your cell's ability to function and put the food that you are putting into your body to use, to turn it into energy. It's like, if you have a motor that is like all gunked up with corrosion or, and it's firing, but it's like really weighed down, right? It's like it can't. And if you just cleaned all that gunk off, cleaned it all up and started putting better fuel through it, the cylinders would start firing again. That's insulin resistance. And basically, like if you are not eating with insulin resistance in mind, then it can be impacting you. It impacts you in the form of brain fog, inflammation. Like you just don't feel right. You're not operating, right? Even mood comes into play. Like there's nothing that it doesn't impact. And so if you're going to see a practitioner and they're throwing pills at you, you're like, I just don't feel good. I don't know what's going on. I've tried this, I've tried that. And then they just throw more pills at you. I would say find another practitioner. Okay? Because you're dealing with a metabolic dysfunction here. And that has to be first and foremost, right? That has to be the thing we have to correct first. Take all that sugar out of your diet. In this particular podcast, he brought up fasting again, which I think is worth talking about. I think fasting gets misconstrued as well. A lot of people think, I'm fasting 22 hours a day. I'm fasting 23 hours a day. That's not sustainable. It's not sustainable and it's not real. Fasting is, however, a very valuable tool, especially when it comes to insulin resistance. Eating in a feeding window, right? So in this podcast, he's suggesting, 18 and 6. So 18 hours of fasting, 6 hours of a feasting window. I like 16 and 8 as well. I haven't seen much difference in 16 and 8. So fasting for 16 and eating in an 8-hour window. But it does matter what you're eating, how you're fueling your body, right? So high protein, as I always say, I say it over and over again, high protein. Instead of building a plate like a clock, like we were taught as kids, we, grew up in diet culture through the 80s and whatnot, 90s. A lot of what we were taught was, you have a little piece of protein, you have a little piece of carbohydrate, you have a scoop of carbohydrates, and you have a scoop of vegetables. And I'm saying get rid of that model. Think of your meals as you're planning them in layers, right? You're planning them in layers. One of the things that you want to make sure you include is fiber. And this doctor recommends that as well. A lot of people are going straight to a carnivore diet. And I think that a carnivore diet can be very therapeutic. Don't get me wrong, but it depends on your goals. And I think that's something that we don't consider. We're looking for a specific outcome. We don't really care how we get it, and that gets us into trouble because this is when we adopt diets that are highly restrictive, they're calorie restrictive, and they're not sustainable. And then you get that boomerang effect, right? Where you white knuckled it through, you lost all the weight, but boom, it comes right back because it's not sustainable. This has to be something that you can do forever. And let me tell you, high protein diet, healthy fats, fiber, you can do that anywhere. You can do that anywhere. And your body becomes, your problem really with insulin resistance is in your brain. It's with those two hunger and satiety hormones. And that we have to work with the body. It signals hunger when the body's hungry. So you can't override that, You can for a limited amount of time, but not forever. So when you eat high protein, when you eat good, healthy fats with it, you're not going to find yourself being hungry. You're going to be able to sail through this. It takes a little while to break the addiction of carbohydrates. It does. But I'm confident on showing you how to do that. Insulin resistance. Do you have it? You should know. You're listening to Naturally Inspired Radio. I'm Tammy Cuthbert-Garcia. Stay tuned because Mark Squibb is next. He's going to tell us all about Live O2.
Are achy joints holding you back? Are you tired of stiffness slowing you down? It's time to restore with Joint Restore Gummies from Prosper CBD. These delicious strawberry-flavored gummies aren't just tasty, they're designed to soothe joint discomfort, promote flexibility, and help you move freely again. No more messy creams or bitter pills. Just one gummy a day to get you back to doing what you love. Best of all, no prescription needed.
My husband was headed towards knee surgery, and I was having hip pain. A friend recommended these. We tried them, and they worked great. We noticed a difference right away.
Right now, Prosper Wellness is offering a special deal, so don't wait. Go to jointrestore1.com. That's jointrestore1.com. Grab your Joint Restore gummies today. Be sure to use the promo code TAMMY, TAMMY, for 20% off your order.
Did you know 80% of beef consumed in the U.S. comes from 4 major corporations, much of it being imported or processed with additives? Want real beef from a real farm? Pumpkin Creek Ranch does things the right way. Local, grass-fed, dry-aged beef with no additives, no shortcuts, just honest quality.
Pumpkin Creek Ranch beef is the real deal. I love knowing exactly where my meat comes from. No additives, no nonsense, just honest quality beef.
Best beef I've ever had. You can taste the difference. Rich, tender, and packed with real flavor. Plus, supporting a local ranch makes it even better.
From pasture to plate, they raise their cattle with care, so you can get rich, natural flavor that only real ranching can provide. Stock your freezer with premium beef you can trust. Visit pumpkincreekranchco.com or call 970-658-0176.
Did you know that detoxing daily can help remove up to 70% of the toxins in your body? Let me share 3 real stories about how Greska's C60 has helped people feel their best every day. John from Denver, Colorado says,
I've always struggled with seasonal allergies, but since I started taking Greska C60 every day, my symptoms have significantly improved. I don't feel congested or tired all the time. It's been an amazing daily detox for my body, and I feel so much more energized.
Emily from Portland, Oregon says,
As an athlete, I was looking for a way to keep my body clean and detoxed. Greska C60 has been a great addition to my routine. I feel less bloated and I feel more clear-headed. Plus, it's helped me with occasional muscle stiffness and aches after intense workouts.
Visit c60.com or call 720-600-6040 today to start your own journey. Use promo code TAMMY at checkout for a special discount.
Welcome back. You're listening to Naturally Inspired Radio. We're so glad you're joining us today. I'm about to start my discussion with Mark Squibb. So, have you heard of oxygen training? I hadn't really heard of it in this way. And Live O2 delivers oxygen-rich performance right at home. It helps you boost your energy, recover faster. It helps you feel your best at really any age because it's like supercharging your body from the inside out. And today, Mark Squibb, the creator of this program, Live O2, is joining us. So welcome, Mark, to the Naturally Inspired Radio Show. How are you doing?
I'm great today. Thank you.
Great. Well, I can't wait to get started. We've got some new listeners, right? It's been a little while since you've been on. So I'd love to start kind of with your background and your story. Like, how did you start doing this? How did you start with Live O2?
Well, the way I've got things queued up is I invented it because I wanted to help my son, who is the first case study that I'll present when you're ready. Basically, one day when he was about 11 years old, he started exhibiting what you call Tourette seizures. And then we noted his mom, that he wasn't moving as quickly or wasn't quite as, he just wasn't as sharp as she thought he should be. So we dug into it, and I discovered that, he had some injury, I suspect, from an injected toxin. So I went off and I said, okay, we need to fix this. So I'm presenting, if you will let me, 2 different case studies today, which, speak to individuals that have had believe they've had various forms of cognitive injury. So the evidence, it really focuses on the presentation of the injury. So what happens is when people have stress injury or concussion, and what happens is blood flow through part of the brain gets damaged or inhibited. And what we do in our protocols is to restore the blood flow, which quite literally turns the brain back on. So to your mother question, I created this technology to help my son, and have discovered over the years that it's a very effective mechanism for helping anybody just to be their sharpest. But if you happen to have brain problems, brain fog, dementia, etc., turning the blood flow on the brain is quite frankly a miracle. And so I have two different cases. The first case is my son. And the second case is a young man who he cured last month by using the same protocol.
That's amazing. And I always say this, Mark, I say this all the time. The discoveries and the answers I really believe they're going to come from people like yourself. Moms and dads, sisters, brothers, husbands, wives who are quite desperate for solutions. And so instead of, knocking people down and saying, oh, you're crazy, you're not a doctor, you're not this, you're not that, I say, let's see it. Let's see it. So absolutely. Let's dive into these studies.
Okay. Well, this is actually one case study. So this is data I gathered the day after I realized that Dakota had a problem. And you'll take a look at, this is the military's version of a neurocognitive panel. And if you take a look at the X's on the right-hand column, you'll see that quite a few, 7, in fact, of his scores were very low. And this was, quite frankly, the time or the day or just before I tried our product with the adaptive contrast to see if I could recover, because I suspected there was a blood flow problem. So this image was taken on Monday. And Jason, if you'll advance us to the next one, this one is 2 days later. Okay, so you'll notice that if you look in the right-hand column, many of the X's have started to march to the left. Okay, and this is in 48 hours after quite literally one session using the product. So if you go to the next slide, this is longitudinal. I believe the final test is in 2018. You'll see that the numbers are all green across the bottom. And what this says to me, and we've reproduced this many times, is that we were effectively able to fully recover his abilities, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So anyway, so I zoomed out and I was working at the time, kind of looking at this injury process and realizing that there are multiple sources of injury. Lots of people end up with concussions, and as you get older, there's a process of that they call dementia, Alzheimer, and the progressive degeneration in brain function just kind of happens, young or old, and there are a lot of factors, lifestyle and otherwise, that influence people's ability to cope. And I sort of made it a mission to create technology, that people could use at home to maintain themselves. And so my experience with Dakota turned into the company Livo2.
Wow, that's an incredible story. That's incredible. Tell me, how did you know? So for parents listening, how did you suspect he was low in oxygen? How did you put this together?
Well, it wasn't he was low in oxygen. What happens, and I wrote the paper, and if anybody's interested in the paper, we'll share a link later on where you can go get a copy of the paper. You can read it. But I've been working with engaging with Del Bigtree, Andrew Wakefield, and the guys that were behind trying to understand where this autism thing came from. And I had the great privilege of, and I'm just going to mention the names out of respect, Dr. Andrew Molden and Frank Hartman. And the three of us co-authored a paper that effectively described the mechanism of injury of what was happening to these kids. And what happened and I'll just summarize it in under a minute, you take a shot, and then the shot can be stress, but what happens is there's enough aluminum that causes the blood to sludge up. And once the blood sludges up, it blocks blood flow to fine capillaries.
Mm-hmm.
And when that blockage lasts for 90 minutes, it injures the downstream capillaries to a point where the swelling in the capillaries, which closes them down, becomes unrecoverable by normal means. So it happens by stress, it happens by different mechanisms, but toxins that enter the blood, that sludge the blood, end up causing this injury, which over time shuts down, quite literally, the brain and other parts of the body's ability to perform. So when we look at the tests that I'm going to show you as we move into the next one, and we see the transition, and I'm talking like a plumber here, what we're doing is we're turning the blood flow back on to the parts of the brain. And as soon as you turn the blood back on, it turns back on, and the effect is instant. Only when you establish the proper physiological conditions. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It makes perfect sense. It actually goes back to my belief system with traditional Chinese medicine, which is all dis-ease in the body is really congestion of some sort, right? It's congestion, it's blockage that creates deficiency ultimately, whatever that deficiency is, whether it's nutrition or whether it's, even oxygen. So it makes perfect sense to me. The other thing I was going to ask is, we see a higher rate of this type of injury in boys. Do you have any comment on that?
It really varies. And in the paper, what I did was I laid out a series of tests, which were actually predictive. Okay, so like, for example, if you want to predict somebody's vulnerability to, an injury, you can do what's called an erythrocyte sedimentation rate, or ESR. It's a very inexpensive blood test, but what this test does is it measures the electric fence around all of the blood cells, which is their resistance to this clumping effect. So if somebody has a loss of electricity in the blood, then the blood clumps up. And so if you take two negative particles and you try to stick them together, they repel each other. Okay, so the answer there is, the paper proposes the notion that the vulnerability to injury, even with injections, is inversely proportional to the erythrocyte sedimentation rate, which expresses what's called zeta potential, which is the natural electrodynamics of the blood, which resists clumping, which gives the blood the ability not to clump up or to tolerate toxins that cause it to clump. So, that's one of the tests. The other test that I proposed, or we proposed in the paper, was that, one of the things we should probably do before we take shots and stuff like that is to actually include the concept of before and after IQ tests. So, for example, these tests that we're showing, they show in this one and the next one, will show a almost instant restoration of cognitive function. The challenge is that, nobody realizes that the cognitive function is lost. And if we were actually to, test various interventions using this very basic at-home mechanism, testing functional IQ, we would see or be able to identify specific causes. And it's curious to me that this has been omitted.
Right.
Validation studies, for my entire memory.
It's kind of the model of the medical apparatus. If you don't have the data, it can't be exposed. Stay tuned, everybody. I'm talking to Mark Squibb from LiveO2. Visit liveO2.com, or you can call him right at 970-658-2789. We'll be right back.
Did you know that a single collagen supplement could support your heart health, help protect against EMF exposure, and reduce inflammation all at the same time? Our preferred foundational collagen not only supports radiant skin and joint mobility, but also promotes heart health, reduces inflammation, strengthens hair and nails, provides added protection against the effects of EMF exposure, and so much more. Our favorite collagen is super absorbable and easy to take. Just 1 tablespoon in the morning and another in the evening for maximum benefits. Here's what our listeners have to say.
This collagen is so easy to take, I've noticed a huge difference in my hair and nails after just a few weeks.
Since I started using Tammy's preferred collagen, my joints feel more flexible and my skin looks smoother.
Try it today at naturalinspiredradio.com/collagen. When you purchase from Naturally Inspired, you get access to our group health coaching call and so much more. Go to naturalinspiredradio.com/collagen. Did you know that medicinal mushrooms are excellent for pets? Take our preferred pet health products for joint health, skin health, antioxidant protection, cell health, anti-aging benefits, gut health, liver support, cholesterol regulation, blood pressure support, brain health, anxiety relief, respiratory health, endurance and strength, anti-fatigue, and much more. Available in easy-to-take treats, great tasting gravy, and our pet food blends.
Since adding mushroom dog food to my dog's diet, I've noticed a huge improvement in his energy and coat health. He's like a puppy again, even at 10 years old.
After starting my care on mushroom super sauce, her immune health and digestion have noticeably improved. She's more playful, and her fur has never looked shinier.
Learn how to get free shipping and how to join our monthly mushroom call. Text Tammy with questions or to order at 720-303-8868. Visit naturalinspiredradio.com/mushroom. That's naturalinspiredradio.com/mushroom.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturalinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio, save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturalinspiredradio.com.
Welcome back. If you missed it or you're just joining us, we're talking to Mark Squibb. He's the inventor of LiveO2. You can learn more at liveO2.com, or you can just call Mark after the show, 970-658-2789. Mark's got some wonderful information still to share. He's got a couple slides here that we're going to cover. He's telling his very personal story about his own son, and I just love these stories. They give me chills because this is truly the power of love, right? When you're a parent and nobody's giving you answers, you're driven by love. It gives you the courage to step outside of that model and find an answer for yourself. And that's exactly what Mark Squibb has done. So Mark, welcome back. And let's go to your slides here so we can see Dakota's results and everyone can see them and understand what's happened here. First, I guess this is a QR code so everyone can get to the website, because I'm sure there's people listening right now that are thinking, oh my gosh, how do I get to this? This is how you get to it. There's a QR code here. And also, Jason will be dropping a link in the chat. Of course, you can always go to liveO2.com as well, or call Mark directly. If this story is resonating with you, 970-658-2789. That's Mark's number where you can get in touch with him. But take it away, Mark. Explain this. SAT scores decline.
Well, back when I wrote the paper in 2009, we were looking at, okay, what's going on here? And this sort of is a general. And my main message in presenting this is twofold. One is, don't be surprised. Many people have, been damaged by the stuff, but the two cases and the one I'm going to show here next, which was a recovery that occurred last month, was actually a 20-year delay between when the apparent event, because we were working with this young man's mom, and she says, yeah, I think something went wrong way back when he was 3, 4, 5. Okay, and you can see the damage. So and just to explain to the audience, if you're watching, this is another version of the same test I showed earlier. And this young man lives in Greeley. I invited him to join, but he's in class right now. So he's like, yeah, Mark, everything you're saying is true. So I did personally, vet my comments with him. But so if you look at this, we did the first test on June 25th. And this is a neurological panel just for the audience. So sort of the neurocognitive index is sort of an aggregate score. But as we go across this line, red covered boxes are scores that were in the lowest 5th percentile of cognitive performance. Orange are in the lowest 15th percentile. So you can see that there's a yellow is a low score, 2 reds, 1 orange, 1 red, another orange, and 2 more reds. Okay, so this diagram shows not only why he was having trouble in college and why things didn't work and why his interface with the world was different, but what matters is if you look at the second line of this, he took the second test on the 8th of August. And you'll see that we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts of his brain, 8 parts of his brain that had enough blood flow restored that they started working normally.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And this is in only 6 training sessions involving less than an hour and a half of physical work with no drugs whatsoever.
Less than an hour and a half of physical work. Do you want to explain that physical work for people? What do we have to do?
So he showed up, and by the way, the other thing that I'm proud of is my son did the work that helped this young man recover.
Wow.
Okay, so the workout is basically we control what he breathes while he works out, and we challenge him between oxygen reduced air, which makes his body think it's at a high altitude.
Okay.
And so that maximizes the amount of blood that's flowing to and through the brain. And then we switch the oxygen supply to an oxygen rich. So the large quantity of blood that's going like 4 times normal through the brain ends up with 6 times more oxygen. And so the process super blasts the brain with a lot of oxygen. And when that happens, it turns the blood flow or the oxygen back on, and it creates a durable recovery by breaking through the blockages that occurred. And in this case, the blockages that occurred 20 years ago.
It's amazing. It is truly amazing. How often do you have to do this to sustain these results? Is it something that's ongoing, or explain that part?
It's like unclogging a drain. Once the drain is unclogged, it stays unclogged. I spoke with him earlier this afternoon and to invite him to tell his own story. But basically I said, so how's your interface with school? He says, it's much easier. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we hadn't worked with him since August 8th. So we're well into September. So his results are holding. Would you please move to the next slide? I want to show kind of the process that happens. So this is an example of the oxygen use in the brain as people go through a LiveO2 workout. Okay, and the first section is 0, and what matters is, if you can see the screen, is the beginning is the oxygen energy production in the brain in the beginning, and then at the end, the oxygen produced in the brain is 29% higher. So the way this works is by driving the oxygen low, activating the blood flow, and then switching back to oxygen rich. So as you look at this chart, the black line indicates the real-time energy production in the brain. After a 19-minute workout, you can see that the energy production in the brain had settled at 29% higher than it did in the beginning. If the brain has an injury, or if the brain isn't working because it's not making enough energy due to an insufficiency of oxygen, it will usually, pardon my simple language, just turn back on. That's
amazing.
what happened. So it's fast, it's simple, and the results last.
Does it matter what kind of injury? We've talked about, injectables that have created injury in these boys, but what about other kinds of injury?
Well, it depends. And the answer there is it depends on if there's a structural injury to the brain tissue versus just a hypoxic injury where blood flow is damaged. So if somebody's dealing with minor concussion or an absence of blood flow or an absence of oxygen delivery to the brain, that's usually a very fast recovery cycle like we showed in the previous. Now, by the way, I want to say LiveO2 is only intended to optimize structure and function. So, for example, if you were to use the product and we were to measure your intellectual or cognitive performance, you would probably see the same category of result. So, for example, this is my brain, neuro, to the extent you're willing to call me normal. This is my brain after a 19-minute workout, and my brain was producing 29% more energy than normal. Which is like a supercharged brain. If you're dealing with an injury, this extra oxygen helps the brain heal faster than it would normally just because it has more resources. So if you apply this to almost any cognitively challenged individual, it's really helpful.
Yeah, and even somebody who just wants better performance could still see results from it, correct?
Correct. So when we train high-level athletes, they will normally show a upregulation or uptick in their neurocognitive as well as motor skills in the ballpark of 25 to 30% due to the same effect that you're looking at on this slide right here.
Fascinating. I want to make sure everybody knows how to contact you. What's the best way to get in touch with you, Mark? Because I'm thinking, there's older people that are having cognitive issues, even sleep issues, right? This can be related to the same type of mechanism, I think, can't it?
Absolutely. Well, in our last show, I went through, a series of dysfunctions that occur as a consequence of, I'll call it breakdown in oxygen metabolism, including methylation. So that, there's a whole raft of things. People normally, like our new users, end up within about 1 to 2 weeks. They'll say, wow, I'm sleeping so much better. So it affects every aspect of life or aspect of quality of life.
Which it makes sense, right? Because that's what I'm always talking about here. You're a synergistic being. You can't just compartmentalize your health. Mark, thank you so much for being on. Everybody visit liveO2.com, liveO2.com, or just call Mark 970-658-2789 or click the link in the chat to get directly connected. Thanks so much, Mark, for being on today. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Are you ready to stay informed and inspired 24/7? Tune in to Naturally Inspired Radio anytime, anywhere. Visit naturallyinspiredradio.com, or for the best mobile experience, download the Simple Radio app. Search for Naturally Inspired Radio, save it to your favorites, and click on the graphic to listen instantly. Catch live broadcasts, revisit past shows, dive into long-form podcast conversations, and discover rare, censored presentations by leading health experts. Plus, explore documentaries uncovering the hidden truths of occult and esoteric history. Stay connected, stay inspired. Naturally Inspired Radio is always at your fingertips. Tune in now. For health questions or comments, text Tammy directly at 720-303-8868. naturallyinspiredradio.com.
Nearly 40% of Americans struggle with a $400 emergency expense. An extra $300 a month can be the difference between stability and financial stress.
Are you feeling the pinch of rising expenses? Imagine what an extra $300, $500, or even $1,000 a month can do for you. Introducing a simple 3-step system designed to help you create a steady income without the overwhelm. Step 1, follow our easy-to-use plan. Step 2, take small, consistent actions. Step 3, stay motivated with weekly coaching designed to keep you on track and moving forward. Whether you're saving for a family vacation, paying down debt, or just looking for breathing room, this system is for you. You don't need special skills, just the desire to make change. Join a growing community of success stories today. Visit simpleincome.info or text 720-764-7448.